Yeah.
We will.
Okay, folks, and we're live. Well, welcome to another exciting workshop. Today's topic is how to present an offer for acceptance, right? And so what we're going to do is we're going to get right into it today and go through the top 5 questions in the front of your handout. Number 1, we're presenting an offer. A, get your best offer first. B, join forces with the seller. Or C, choose your ground. Or D, all of the above.
All of the above.
What is your ground?
Make a deal.
When I say
close the
choose your
deal.
ground, choose your ground. Where is your ground?
Where are you going to make the deal? Is that
Where is your ground? We talked about
The
that.
office.
Your office, absolutely, right, your office. Number 4, your warm-up small talk should center on the tough market, the wonderful buyers, the seller's urgency, or B, the seller's hobbies and neighbors, or C, you shouldn't do any warm-up small talk at all.
C. B.
Okay.
C, I think so.
When presenting an offer, you should talk about the tough market, how wonderful the buyers are, and you should also revisit the seller's urgency. So the answer is A.
Oh.
Number 3, now you didn't know that because you didn't go to the seminar yet, right? I'm going to teach this in the class.
Oh, we're doing it backwards.
You're
Okay.
Yes.
talking to your seller.
Exactly, we do it backwards all the time. I ask you the questions that you don't know the answers to yet, but you will
To
at
whet
the
our
end of the
appetite.
seminar. Right, exactly, thank you.
Can I
And
say
to help you
something?
remember it, absolutely.
I think that's not right because the seller knows the market is tough if it's been on the market for a year. And you start in by supporting the buyers and reminding the seller of their urgency. Sounds like you have already taken the buyer's side. So I want,
I'm going to teach you a 7-step process that will absolutely positively help you avoid that, what you're talking about.
Okay.
And that because you're going to do it in such a way that you're definitely not going to be, in fact, part of the dialogue I'm going to teach you today, part of the dialogue is that I'm on your side, okay? So feel the whole seminar out first, learn the 7-step process first, and I guarantee you won't feel the same way.
Just
But
one
I know just by reading that one sentence, it's like a little controversial. But I want at least one of these 5 questions to be a little controversial in your mind so that it sinks in by the end of this session. In other words, it's supposed to stir up a little bit of unrest with you.
It already
Okay?
has.
Yes.
It already has.
Yes,
This seminar is about us talking to our seller.
correct.
with the
making-
listing agent.
With the listing
Okay.
agent. That's
Yes.
our perspective.
Yes, absolutely. It's about you talking to your seller. Now, maybe you could use some of these techniques when it's your buyer and you're presenting your offer to a seller or a listing agent, right? So keep that in mind also as we keep going forward. I'm going to assume the role that I'm the listing agent and I'm talking to my seller, but you can definitely use this process and these techniques as you go through them with a co-broke and coaching them on how to get your offer accepted and so on and so forth. Okay, what number are we on now?
3.
Number 3. Okay, the first thing you should do on an offer presentation after you small talk is A, hit them with the price, B, apologize for the low offer, or C, explain your job and their options.
C.
Oh, you guys are good! All right.
That was
Number
so
2.
hard. Yeah.
Sellers are generally most interested in A, the selling price, B, their personal property, or C, their estimated net at closing.
C.
Nice.
No, because
The answer is C, correct.
they're hoping.
People don't care about what it's actually selling for.
How much they
What
gonna
they
make.
care is what are they going to net in their pocket. And the reason why I want to convey that to you over and over and over again in these sessions is to get you in the mindset that it's about what they're going to net, not about the price. Too many sellers focus on the price because when they're focusing on the price, they're also thinking, well, my neighbor got $425 a year ago, and they're getting $420 or $415. Well, you got to get their mind off of that mindset. They have to stop thinking about the past. They have to stop thinking about the sale price. They have to start thinking about what is the sale price going to give them. Okay?
That's even going to be lower.
Yeah, because they have to take the money
Yeah,
out.
but
It
that
doesn't
makes it
matter.
more of a shock.
Yeah,
No,
then-
it isn't.
then
No,
off
it
at
isn't.
the end.
No, it isn't. Trust me on this.
Yeah, we often
Listen,
are scared to
it's
give
a-
them the net.
It's a lower number, and also keep this in mind. You have to do things a little differently to get different results, gang. And you have to have a little bit of blind faith. I just had another interview yesterday with a gentleman who's he's a national real estate coach. And he asked me the question, as most of them often do. They say, well, how is it that, what advice could you give to someone new in the business or someone struggling in the business right now? And I said, well, one of the things I always mention is blind faith. In other words, when you're taught something, don't try to fight it so much. Have an open mind. Because if you have more of an open mind and you're willing to learn something new and then try it, then you're more apt to have success with it. If you don't believe in it coming right out of the starting gate, you might not use it. And if you don't use it, it won't work. And even if you try to use it and you don't believe in it, it still won't work. And therefore, it'll be a self-fulfilling prophecy, and you'll say, see, I told you it didn't work, but that's mostly it didn't work because you didn't believe in it first. So I would encourage you to try, have a little bit of an open mind, have some blind faith. I know that I'm speaking to everyone in the room right now because at any given point, there's always been a few things that you haven't agreed with that I've shared with you. Everyone. And whether you kept it to yourself or whether you talked about it in class or whether you talked about it when you got home, it doesn't matter. There's always something you're going to hear that you might not agree with. But keep in mind, this is history-proven, psychologically sound techniques that absolutely positively work. I've used them myself. That's why I believe in it so much and I'm so passionate about it. And the psychology behind this is so sound that I really want to encourage all of you to just try to keep an open mind to some of these new ideas and new techniques. Remember, I said this before too. Well, if you come here and I teach you, I show you things that you already know that you're already doing, then I've kind of wasted your time. In other words, if I haven't given you some information, Roberta, that would help you to expand what it is that you're doing and open your mind, or John, to give you some new ideas and techniques and things that you haven't done before, you haven't heard before, or if someone in your office told you just the opposite, or it goes against what your mindset is right now, keep an open mind to that. If you use it, it'll work for you. I promise you that. Sellers are, all right, so we talked about number 2. Number 1, when a seller accepts your offer, you should tell them, A, congratulations, pack your bags. B, keep your fingers crossed, anything can happen at this point. Or C, as soon as I communicate with the buyers, your house is sold.
B.
B is correct. All right.
Good one.
Yeah.
And then look at time.
Feel free to go to the next page. Okay, now, all set? Great. Now, there was this young gentleman who was a real estate agent in an office, and he went to his broker owner, who he really respected a great deal. And she was the broker owner of the office. And he went to her one day and he said, listen, I got a question for you. And she said, sure, what is it? He says, how do you get arthritis? And she thought to herself, wow, this gentleman trusts me so much that this would be a fantastic opportunity for me to get him to be a producer. So I'm going to use a little smarts here. I'm going to tell him something. So she said to the young gentleman, who was a young real estate agent, she said, well, listen, the way that you get arthritis is you have a negative attitude, you don't follow up, and you don't prospect. And she said, so how long have you had arthritis? And he says, oh, I don't. I heard the Pope has it. So anyway, listen, gang, here's what I want to share with you today. You can't talk someone into taking less money than they're willing to take. This isn't what this is about, okay? But you can follow a step-by-step process that will increase your odds of not getting a counter or a rejection, okay? So keep that in mind too before I get into the process, all right? We're not talking about getting a seller to take less than what they can take or what the property is worth or what you've explained to them what they would net when you first listed the property. But I'm going to share with you a 7-step process that will help you get more offers accepted versus rejected or countered. How many people want to learn that? Raise your hand. Yeah, me too, right? You must all be commission salespeople, am I right? On commission? All right. Number 1 is to small talk smart. You like that visual? Small talk smart. So I worked in putting some visuals together for you today in your handouts to help you remember the process, okay? And it's a memory technique, actually. If you take a system and you put a picture with each item, it helps you remember the order and which way they go, and helps you remember it even more if you can put a picture with it. Remember, a picture's worth 1,000 what?
Dollars.
Dollars. You guys are good. Now, so small talk smart. In the first step, what you're going to do is, and feel free to make some additional notes off to the side here on number 1. I'm going to stay on number 1 for a second. When you get to the home, keep your folder and your briefcase and all that stuff on the floor. And what you're going to do is you're going to sit there and you're just going to talk to them. Small talk. But smart small talk. You're not going to talk about bowling or their neighbors or golf. You're going to talk about these 3 items. And I put the visual in. Yes?
I thought you said this was come into the office.
I'm sorry, yes. Whether they're in the office or you're at their house. Absolutely, yes. Thank you. Stuck it in my mindset here. So whether they come into the office or at your house, either one, if you're in either situation, and you're sitting at a table with them, here's what I want you to do. I don't want you to sit on the table like this and be looking at them and you know, just like ready to
That's scary.
and leave. What I want you to do is kind of just sit back and
Oh, God.
and just talk. All right, just have a casual conversation. Yeah, lay down, put your feet up on the table. Am I right?
Why did you do that? Yeah, I do that okay.
Yeah, what the heck, why not? So what you're going to do is you're going to small talk smart. And what you're going to do, when I say small talk, you're going to say it in a very casual way. For instance, I don't want you to go in there, sit at the table, and take out a trend graphics report and show them, just how horrible the market is, and this is what's going on, and these are the list of all the expired listings, and blah, 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 blah. That's when you get into presentation mode, or if you need that information, use it as an objection handling tool. But right now, gang, we're going to build rapport, but we're going to do it how?
Smart.
Right? Small talk smart. Okay, gang? So, what are we going to talk about? I put some visuals on that paper for you.
Their dogs.
What does number 1 look like to you?
Declining.
Declining economy, right? Or I like to say the rotten market is the note that I put down. The buyer's market that we're in, okay? And you're going to talk about it.
Can we use the word rotten?
Well, you can use whatever you want to use.
Or small talk.
And so, what if I let me get?
talking about people.
What if I just said to them, hey John, last time I was here, you were talking about your mutual funds not doing so well. How are they lately? I know mine aren't that good. How are yours?
Terrible.
Terrible, huh? So you see, I'm talking about the market, right?
Right.
Gas
Hey,
prices.
Gas
Uh,
prices.
Yeah, right. Gas prices. How about those gas prices? That's why I had you drive to my office. I can't afford to drive to your house anymore. Right? And have some fun, build some rapport, use a little humor, kind of cut the edge off if you can, if you'd like. And the other thing is you want to be able to talk about the market in such a way about what's going on in houses, because eventually, if you just keep asking them questions about the market and talking, they'll say to you, so Andre, how's it going in real estate? I mean, what's going on? How's your office doing?
Great.
Oh, I don't know. Or unbelievable, right?
Yeah.
And you can say to them,
Unbelievable, right?
you could say to them, actually, I looked at some trend graphics reports. The one that I showed you when I listed the property. We last time I met with you, we had 13 and a half months worth of inventory. Now we're up to 14 months of inventory in our market right now. So more homes just keep coming on the market. Which of course means more competition for you, Roberta. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm small talk smart. Talk about the market. You follow me?
I can't begin to tell you how this market is going.
Really?
I'm just
Okay.
an idea. I can't begin to tell you.
All right, there you go.
I
You could
used
try.
it, yeah.
All right. Number 2 is we're going to talk about the seller's urgency. The seller's urgency. Now, I'll be straight with you, gang. For every real estate agent I ask, and Esther, you'd be shocked about this, but I ask real estate agents sometimes, and I say, well, why does your seller have to sell? And I can see this pause in their head. I can see this pause, and then they start talking but the words that are coming out are just filling the time and space with words. And I'm thinking they really don't know what the seller's true motivation is for selling. Now, I happen to know for a fact, gang, that you could definitely list a house for sale and not know what the seller's motivation is. I've done it many times myself as an agent until I got trained properly. Until I learned how to list them, but now I needed to learn how to close them. I needed to learn how to get more offers accepted, and I found one of my biggest problems was that I didn't know what the seller's real motivation was. I'd go in and I'd give a fantastic listing presentation, and I'd close, and I'd close, and I'd close, and I'd get the listing, and then when I got the offer, I didn't know why they wanted to sell. And so I'd learned the hard way. I said, well, I have to figure this out ahead of time. Then I started tailoring my questions when I asked them, why is it that you're selling? When I first list a property for sale, why are you selling? What will happen if you don't sell? You see, remember I gave you that question to ask months ago when you pre-qualified the listing? And now you've got an offer on that listing, and now you want to get that offer accepted. Well, you have to go back to use that information again. Go back to your notes that you took when you listed the property, when you asked them, what will happen if you don't sell the home? And then revisit that, and revisit their motive. Let's say they're building a new home. And I would say to them, Carol, I know that you guys are building the new house. How's the new house coming along? And she says, well, they're framing it now, and so on. Oh, good. How long is the builder willing to wait before we get this under agreement? Oh, no, he'll give us plenty of time. And I say, oh, at the same price? Oh, you don't know. Oh, okay. Well, something to consider then. I guess we got to get on this one right away, right? Talk about the seller's urgency. If you don't know what it is, and that's okay, don't be embarrassed. You're not alone. If you don't really know what it is, sometimes they'll tell you what it is in the beginning, but it's not really the whole truth. Yeah. Or it changes, right? Sometimes their motivation when you get an offer, they don't want to or need to sell. Right? They called you to sell their home because they couldn't afford their mortgage. Last week they hit the lottery. Do they need you anymore? No. Right? What about this? Last week they called, 3 months ago they called you to list their property for sale because they were getting a divorce, but now the wife is going to buy out the husband and she's going to keep the house. Do they need you anymore? No. Things change, right? They can change the other way around where they can become even more urgent, where they have to sell. They have to sell versus they want to sell, okay? Time is going on, and they need to get the property sold. So here's what I recommend you do. What would you think I'm going to suggest? If you don't know what their true motivation is in selling and you're bringing them an offer, what should you do?
Revisit it.
Revisit it and ask them those very powerful questions. You may even want to revisit them even though you think you know what the reason is. Last time we spoke, I remember you told me that you had to sell because of boom, boom, boom. And I also remember that you said that if you couldn't sell the home, that this, and this would happen. Fear of loss, gang, is a more powerful motivator than the reward of gain. Remember, I keep revisiting that over and over and over again. Tell them what they're going to lose if they don't get the property sold. So you want to revisit that as well. Remember, the only way you're going to get referrals from these people is if you get their home sold. And oftentimes, being in sales, remember this seminar we were talking about this, being in sales, is convincing someone to do something that they're going to thank you for later on. Right? That's a professional salesperson. So remember, you're going to go through this process to convince them to accept the offer or reject the offer, okay? And they're going to thank you for it later on. You're going to bring them through the process. Now, the third thing you're going to talk about is the wonderful buyers. What you want to do is you want to sell the people who are buying the home as people to the sellers. Okay, gang? So we're going to talk about the wonderful buyers. You may say something to the seller like this, Louise. You may say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, the DiGiovanni's, when they came in, you saw them when they were coming in and seeing the property. I don't really know them that well, but they seem like the type of people that when they buy this house, they're really going to take care of your home. Don't you think? Sell them as people when you're talking to the sellers. Number Next page. Next page. Number 2 is you're going to explain. And so, what you're going to do in so many words, you're going to say something like this: Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I'm more of an arbitrator here. Now, you be careful about your agency laws and all this other good stuff, and make sure you don't go off and say that you're a facilitator or something like that, you know. But you say, I'm more of kind of an arbitrator here. You see, I'm on your side to help you sell your home, and the buyer is a component. You see, you need 3 components in place simultaneously. And at this point, gang, I'm going to ask you to role play this in a minute. And you're going to use your pens, okay? You see, at this point, prior to this point, you need 3 components, okay? You need 3 items. First, you need a house. Then you need a seller, and you need a buyer. Up to this point, we've only had 2 components here. Now that we have this offer, we have a buyer, okay? But we need all 3 of these components in order for our transaction to transpire, okay? Today we have the 3rd component, and all the pieces are in place. So you draw a circle around it, okay? My job is to prevent the facts, to give you the suggestions you need so that you don't impulsively make a decision. Now watch this, gang. So you don't impulsively make a decision that brings us all the way back to just these 2 items, okay? And I want you to draw this out when you're role-playing it with your partner in a minute. And I want you to draw this out when you're meeting with the sellers. Remember, fear of loss. We had the buyer, and then we lost it. You see, something very powerful about putting this down on a piece of paper in front of them. And it's one of those things where I don't have the time in order to explain to you the psychology of why this is so powerful. It's one of those things I'm going to ask you to just do it and see how powerful it is and see how it works. To kind of nip it in the bud, because some of you are looking at me with this look of a little bit more curiosity, is that, look, this is what you need to get to where you want to go so that you can get know what your interest rate is going to be. So you no longer have to prepare your home for showings so that you can get to where you want to get in the time you want to be able to get there. And at first you only had these 2. You need all 3 to make it happen. We have it. And now we're going to do something so that we don't impulsively get rid of and start all the way back to where we were 3 months ago when we first listed the property for sale. Okay, gang? You guys with me?
Yes.
All right. Now, that's going to be the dialogue that when you explain to them the first part. The second part, which is number 3, is you can accept you can accept the offer. This is what you're going to do. The first part is you're going to tell them what your job is. Your job is to explain the facts so that they don't make a decision that'll bring them back to just the 2, right? The second part is you're going to explain to them what their job is. You follow me? And in so many words, you're going to say something like this. You can accept, and the benefits are obvious. No more showings. You move to the new house. You know what your interest rate is going to be, et cetera, right? Or you can reject the offer. I'm not sure what the rates are going to be. It might take more time to get your property sold if you reject the offer. And oh yes, there is such a thing that we call in the industry as a counteroffer. And by law, that is otherwise known as a rejection. Okay? So what you need to contemplate tonight is to say yes or no. Accept or not accept. Oh yes, there is one of those things in our business called counteroffer. But according to Massachusetts state law, that is a rejection. When someone counters, they're rejecting the offer. You follow me? You need to listen and stop. Here's what I would ask you to do. Stop thinking that the seller knows. The seller knows. The seller knows. Whether they know or not, they need to be reminded. You need to be reminded of things. I need to be reminded of things on a consistent basis. You have to revisit the facts. You have to go through the process in order for it to work. Yes, Roberta.
I'm having a hard time with this because it's just human nature. People expect that a first offer is not their last
Right, they
offer
wanna make a deal.
unless otherwise presented. And sometimes the seller says, this is what they're willing to do, and you present it as a final offer, and I have no problem with that.
Yes.
But on a general offer, I would say the buyers expect to come up, the sellers expect to come
Alright.
down, and they expect to negotiate. It's the human way.
Well-
It's the American way.
Okay, hold that thought, right? Now, you're going to get, between now and the end of the year, you're going to get 10 offers that you're going to present to your listings, okay? 7 out of 10 of those offers are going to be the way that you just described it. That will probably happen, okay? But in order to get the other 2 accepted, and the other 3 accepted, one of them isn't going to go together no matter what you say, okay, 1 out of 10. The other 2 out of 10, you're going to use this process regardless on all of them, and you're going to make an extra couple of sales a year using this process because they're going to look at the offer and they're going to accept it. And here's why, okay? Here's why. They already got an offer before and they played the negotiating game and they lost 2 buyers. And now they're afraid. They don't want to. See, you don't know what they're thinking. Here's a huge item of coaching that I always have to go through with anyone that I'm coaching. And that is this. It is complete, like you mentioned, human nature, the American way. It's just the way it is, right? And what happens is you have a situation where. Okay. As salespeople, when I get a new salesperson, here's the first thing I tell them. I say, listen, one of the things that I wish I could take out of your mind is this. Everybody thinks that everyone else thinks the same way that you think. Okay? So because it's my nature to barter and to negotiate and to never come in with a realistic offer in the beginning, I'm going to negotiate. Because I think everybody does that. So what you're saying is completely normal and natural. But I want some of you to be aware of that. Some of you might be thinking in this manner because that's the way you think. And it's normal and natural for all of us to think that everyone thinks the same way that we do. So first, number 1, accept it. That's a fact. Okay? You have to be aware of it. Number 2 is then go out and think about, okay, well, is it possible that a buyer likes the property so much that they don't want to goof around? What if a buyer's making an offer on Esther's house? It's Esther's property. She's the seller, right? And the buyer made an offer on Linda's house last week, and a low offer, and negotiated. It was $10,000 less than Linda was asking. And Linda was so insulted that she wouldn't even counter. The buyer, I came up to full price. And Linda still said, no, I don't want to deal with you anymore. You insulted me. So I can't buy Linda's house. Now I see Esther's home. I love it even more than Linda's house. No offense, Linda, but I like Esther's house. It has more square footage and has a 3-car garage. I love her house, right? And I want to buy her house. As a buyer, I may not screw around. I may not put in a lower offer. I may, hey, I may look at my wife and I say, honey, you know what? Do you like the house? And the wife says, yeah. She says, we don't want to lose this one like we lost Linda's. Let's put it at full price. And so they put in a full price offer on the property. Well, let's say they put in $10,000 less, and let's say the property's worth $20,000 less. Are you going to ask your seller to negotiate, or are you going to ask them to accept it? I mean, here's another realistic item that you have to be considering right now. If you get an offer that's at your asking price or slightly below, and you're already overpriced, is it going to appraise? You have to think about it. I'm just saying. Just think about it, okay? It's already happened to one listing in our office already this past month. And so I'm sure we'll see others coming around the corner. What I'm asking you to do is you need to go through the process, try it. It'll work. Now, keeping this in mind, the techniques that I share with you will help you to close more deals. I'm not saying that this is going to get you to get it every offer you submit accepted on every listing. What I'm saying is you're going to get more accepted versus rejected if you follow the process. But you have to bring them through the process first. Because here's what some of you are struggling with right now. you're getting, Roberta, you might not be experiencing this, but I'm seeing it from other agents, is that they're getting offers on their listings, and the offers are pretty decent. And the agent wants the seller to take the offer, right? And doesn't want the seller to negotiate because it's not going to go anywhere. It's a great offer. Get it accepted. The best way to screw up a great offer is to try to negotiate it. When you see something that you like and you know it's what you want and it's the right thing, go for it. Just do it. Sometimes the buyer's thinking that when they're making an offer on the property, they don't want to lose it. So it doesn't apply in every situation. My solution to this doesn't apply to every situation, and the example that Roberta brought up that all of us are thinking doesn't apply to every situation also. But in order to test it, you need to go through the process. Okay, again? Now, it's not shocking that some of you have a problem with some of the things that I teach. It's not shocking. Not that you have a problem with it, it's just it's uncomfortable because it's unnatural for you. It's not typical, it's not what you're used to doing, so it's going to feel a little uncomfortable. But that's part of growing, right, gang?
Yes.
Right.
Part of growing. Okay. So, all right. So those are the two dialogues. And before we role play this, I want to go to number 4. Number 4 is show them the highlights of the offer. So I drew a picture of I put a picture of a highlighter in there to remind you that what you want to do is you want to hit the highlights of the offer. Don't read the whole offer word for word. Talk about this is what they're offering. Talk about time. Very important. Write that down. Talk about time. Sometimes more than running out of money is running out of what, gang? What's more important? Time. Absolutely. Talk about time. Talk about time on the market that they've been on. Show them how many views they've had on their websites. Talk about how much time it's taking to get an average property sold. Talk about how much time it takes for a property to be on the market, and then they eventually end up expiring. Yes, Roberta?
The other thing to talk about time is we're getting into the holidays, or whatever the thing is, we're getting into something.
Right.
We're getting into the summer months. We're getting into the fall month. Whatever the
Peak
thing
sales
is.
season is past us.
Yeah, we're past the season.
Right.
Prime season.
We're heading into spring. We're going to have a lot more competition, right?
Right.
We're heading into summer. Oh boy, it's going to be really
People are
slow.
gone. We're gonna miss
People
the
are on
market.
vacation. We're heading into fall. Oh, people are going to be busy with school. Oh, we're heading into winter. People don't like shopping during the holidays. It's always something, right, Roberta? Right, something.
Good point.
She's good. Okay. So after you hit them with the highlights, go to step number 5, and that is explain the net. Explain the net. Gang, I can't tell you, sometimes some of you come to me with a problem, and that problem could have been solved by using a net sheet. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've met with agents that come into my office, and unfortunately, those agents that have all these problems aren't in this room, and they don't watch the DVD. These are the ones that have these problems. And I say to them, well, did you use the net sheet? And they go, what's a net sheet? And I say, well, you need to come to training and blah. We have this dialogue, back and forth. Or they have come to training and go, oh, yeah, I thought about that, but, how do I print that up? Or, it's some reason or another they made the decision not to use a net sheet. And I have to tell you, it's one of the most powerful tools you can use as an agent. If you're not using it, get used to using it. It will solve a lot of problems for you. It'll solve problems for you when you're going to take the listing. It'll solve problems for you when you're going to get the offer accepted, okay? It's just one of those other things I have to ask you to kind of have a little blind faith, gang, and know that this works. It's a powerful tool. And when you're using and you're explaining the net sheet, you want to use phrases like, oh, somewhere around, or thereabouts, or something kind of somewhere around this range. There's an old Latin phrase called annus protectus. I don't know. Are you with me? Okay. And so you want to cover yourself and just give a range, okay, when you're coming up with a net, okay? And then you go to step number 6. And step number 6 is you ask the best 2-word closing question in the world, which is what, gang?
Any questions?
Which is what, gang? Thank you, Roberta. But how about everyone?
Any questions?
Any questions? All right. Thank you.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
I understand about the net being I mean, I believe you that that's a good idea, but I'm just thinking, isn't that a little frightening when you start deducting the commission and lawyer fees and all that, and they hear, that's all I'm getting, that doesn't scare them more than the higher
Well-
figure, which is like, this is the offer, it's this,
Right.
the net is like down here, and it's like, that's all I'm gonna realize? No?
You have to change your mindset, gang.
Okay.
Trust me on this. And here's another reason why. You've already done this when you listed the property for sale.
Yeah.
And you keep telling me consumers are smart, but yet, do you think that they're stupid enough to believe, that they're not gonna, that what they're selling the house for is different than what they're netting in their pocket? Because what would you do if you had a loan, if you were selling your car for, $25,000, and what would be the first thing you do when someone made you an offer? You'd figure out what is your loan amount on it, deduct that, and find out how much you'd end up in your pocket, and is that number going to get to you to where you want to go, what you want to do, or how you're going to get there, right? Eventually they're going, and here's another thing that you're totally, that you might be totally missing, and that is this fact, is that you've already went through the net sheet when you listed the property with them already.
We didn't though sometime.
No,
Well,
Yeah,
you should, that's my point.
Can you show us a net sheet? Will you
Yeah.
bring it out?
Yeah, I mean, the net
It's in
sheet,
toolkit, right?
No,
Yeah.
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 Do you use it all the time?
No, I never do.
Yeah, I mean, I
It
don't
doesn't
think it's
have all
something
the-
that we use.
It doesn't have all
It's
the.
an H3.
here's a problem.
No, I know it's there,
All
but
right.
you just take it out.
Yes,
Here's-
take it out, yeah.
How many of you want to get a 6 or 7% commission?
Yes.
Use the net sheet.
Well, show us.
All right, here we go. We've got a $400,000 sale price of a property, right? And so I'm going to tell them that it's going to sell anywhere from 400 to, say 420, all right? And then I'm going to list on the left-hand side all of the expenses that they're going to have, and then show them what they're going to net in their pocket at the bottom of the page, okay, gang? So, help me out. What are some of the expenses that a seller has? How about this? First mortgage, right?
Yep.
Second mortgage. What else?
The lawyer's fee.
Attorney fee, right?
Inspections.
Stamp fees.
Tax stamps.
Broker's fee.
Now, here's how you get a 7% commission. You ready? Here's what you do. When you go and you put the net sheet together, gang, here's what you put on the form. Follow me. So, because some of you brought this up, you're afraid of this. You're going to put in a fee, and it's going to be, $27,000 or $26,000 or whatever your fee is. And they're going to see that number and they go, holy moly, I want your job. You're making more than anybody. In fact, you're making more than me at the bottom. But here's what you do. You set it up like this. You put at the top, you put in listing company, listing agent. You follow me?
Yep.
Selling company, selling agent. And you break the fee down into 4 separate areas of compensation. Because that's really how it's really set up. So they can't look at you and say, geez, Louise, $24,000? Geez, you've only had the listing for 30 days? And I'm paying wow,
I've been in here for 10 years
Yeah.
and I'm not making that.
But really, it's $6,000 minus taxes, minus your own personal expenses, right? Yeah, right.
So
Which
how
are part of
can
your
you
own
do that?
personal
I mean, how
expenses.
can you put those figures, or you're not putting the figures, you're just putting those facts?
No, I would put the dollar amounts in here as well. Put the dollar amounts in, so it would be 6,000, 6,000, 6,000, 6,000. The tax stamps would be $500. Attorney's fees, $2,000.
No,
He's a good attorney. Don't knock it. It's good. First mortgage is first mortgage is $300,000. Second mortgage is
50.
$50,000. Oh, you know this person. Okay,
Yeah.
good. So net bottom line, you're going to net anywhere from somewhere between 10
Nothing.
Nothing, right.
10
Giving away your time. Walk away.
to
You're
$20,000.
lucky if you walk away.
Is that all that
You're
you
not
put
gonna
on
have
that call?
mortgage.
What else would be in that call?
Things like smoke certificate, or
Inspection.
inspections for like Title V inspections, things of that nature, right,
They're
gang?
like $1,000
That's
worth
for
of
termites.
Termite if they found it.
No, smoke.
Only if it's found.
Yeah,
Smoke.
Okay, focus on this for a second. Watch this. When I was listening at selling real estate, you guys are just, we're not going to end up with much, or blah, blah, blah. Honest to God, here's the system, and herein lies, feel what I'm about to tell you, okay, gang? When I was listening and selling real estate, the reason why I have no empathy for all your whining right now is the fact that these were negative numbers. These were negative numbers, gang. Which I just came out of an economy where people didn't have equity in their property. I was going on listing appointments and people had to pay money to sell their house. Okay? And we're doing that now. We're experiencing that now. You're going to see more and more of it if you haven't seen it yet. And so here's the bottom line. Are you dealing with someone that needs to sell their house? And if you're not, then you're experiencing negative things with the things that I'm sharing with you. Because guess what? None of this stuff works if they don't have to sell. They argue about your commission, they argue about this, they argue about length of time, and so on and so forth. I had a conversation who I will not name the person, but I had a really good conversation with this agent yesterday. And the agent said to me, I want to get this property sold. I've got an offer in on it. We listed it a little bit higher, but they need to come down, they need to get the property sold. And I said, well, that's the problem with listing a property overpriced, because when you list it overpriced, you're actually subconsciously, in the seller's mind, you're buying into that price because you took the listing. Well, it's about to expire in 2 months, and I've got an offer, and I want to put it together, and so on and so forth. And and I said to the agent, why are they selling? And I could see in this agent's eyes and in their body language that they were very much like needed the sale. Have you ever been there? I've been there. Well, she needed to get this property sold. Really wanted, really bad, to get this property sold. And in the midst of all of our conversation, I stopped the conversation in the middle of it. I said, listen, let me guess. And I don't know for a fact, but based on the way you're acting and reacting and answering my questions, this is your only listing, am I right? She said, yeah. And I said, here's your problem. Even though you didn't ask me, I'm going to volunteer what your problem is regardless. And here it is. You need more listings. Because here's the bottom line. You care too much about whether or not this deal goes through or not. And you're dealing with a seller that you've just admitted to me doesn't have to sell their home. They'd like to. What is the reason? Well, the house is too big. It's too much for her to take care of. But still taking care of it. Still not a big problem. The money's not a problem. The time is not a problem. And she said, and then the seller tried negotiating the agent's commission down. Well, I'll relist with you in 2 months if you lower your commission. And they said, well, I'll lower my commission if you lower your price. And I thought, why would you say that? Aren't you already lowering your commission when they lower the price, right? And shouldn't you hire an agent based on marketing services, not on price? Didn't we learn that too, gang? Yeah, she didn't go to that seminar. But anyway, gang, you know what? You have to, if you're dealing with problems and objections and things like, oh, that doesn't work, John, that's because you're dealing with people that don't have to sell their home. If you're dealing with someone that absolutely positively has to sell their home, then all this is fine. These negative numbers are fine. You getting 6 or 7% fee for service is fine. And it's part of your premier service is offering them a net sheet. I think it might even be in our premier service. Yeah, it's in there. It's what every new agent is trained on in our company. Is you make sure you get this net sheet and put them out there. You don't want them to be surprised, right? I mean, this is the bottom line. Would you rather know now that they can't afford to sell their home, or when you get to the closing? After you walk through the home inspections, the appraisals, and you put everything, and you already spent the commission,
You don't want them to be surprised, but more than that, I don't want to be surprised.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Keep in mind, gang, it works. Now, here's the thing. If you're not experiencing enough success with these systems and programs, I would absolutely say that you're not going on enough appointments, you don't have enough listings, you don't have enough people that are in your listing Tory that have to sell their home. John, I've got 4 listings, they're not moving. Look at the motivation of the sellers. If they don't have to sell their home, then here's what I would ask you to do. Make an appointment, go to them, show the David Knox pricing your home to sell video, put in front of them 2 MLS data form sheets. One says price adjustment on it, circled, with the new price adjustment. The other one says canceled. And ask them to sign one. Either way, you what?
Win.
You win.
Either way, you win. Right? You know, worse than having 4 listings or 1 listing that isn't selling, or with a seller that doesn't have to sell. The only thing worse than having no listing at all is having listing or listings
And don't sell.
that don't sell, and you have sellers that don't want to sell. It rips the heart out of you. It takes away your motivation. It bums you out. It causes you to work for less money per hour. And in many instances, it causes people to get out of an otherwise what could be a very profitable career for them. But they left the industry because they've had these bad experiences and they chose to work with the wrong people. What's beautiful about real estate, gang, is that, you know, you can't choose who to work with. Now, I know it's hard. I know you went to training and you go to the meetings and you go on appointments, you come to training classes like this, and it's all about, you have to list to last. Go out and get a listing. When the phone rings, get an appointment. Go on to the appointment and get the listing, you hear it all the time, you know? And you look at the person who's the most successful person in your office, they have the most amount of listings, and all of a sudden someone calls you up, Carol, and they say, hey, come list my house, and you go, whoosh, and you go right out there. You know, and they say, and what happens, because it's your only prospect that you've had in a month, and you haven't had a sale in 2 months, here's what happens. Yeah, that's right. Here's what happens. You start wiggling when they want to reduce the fee from 6 to 5, right? Here's another thing, and I say this respectfully. I said, why do you want to go from 6 to 5? I said this yesterday in our conversation. I said, why don't you go 5 3/4? And honest to God, this is what the agent said. Can you do that? And listen, it's something that I hear from many agents. And in part of the training, when I talk about commission, there are a lot of little numbers in between 5 and 6. 5 1/8, 5 3/8, 5 1/2, 5 5/8, 5 3/4, 5 7/8, right? 5.9875. Okay, gang? You know? I said, so you don't automatically have to go to that adjustment there if it's the right thing to do.
John,
Yes.
that 3% dialogue is working. I heard Molly Baker at work for the other day. So it bears your little dialogue again at every class because
Okay.
it's just easier to feed people. That's the first thing they hear.
Yep.
3%, our marketing fee is 3%,
Yes.
and blah, blah, blah. So go ahead.
This is something we brought up a while ago, and I actually kind of forgot about it, and it's not original. I didn't make it up. I actually heard it from a seminar that I had gone to, and Roberta came in the office one day beaming, you know. She had her sunglasses on, but you could still see her eyes beaming from behind her sunglasses, and she was so excited. She says, hey, I used that thing, and it worked, and I'm like, great. And I'm thinking to myself, what thing?
What thing?
So I immediately wanted to know. And she said, and she shared with me the dialogue that she used. The seller said to her that, now keeping in mind, 5% is preconditioned in everyone's head. And, you know, so sometimes even some of you are struggling with that as well because you were coming from a seller's market. So you're already getting beat up, right? The people who get the 6 and 7% commission so easily are the new people that come into the business because they don't know any better. Right? They just think, well, that's what it is. That's the price, you know. But Roberta came in and she said, you know what? The seller asked me what the commission was, and I said, well, our fee for service is 3%. But then, of course, you want to offer the co-broke agent a fee. You can offer them 2.5% or 3% or 3.5%. I'd recommend that you go with 3 so that I'm not the only individual person who's excited about getting your home sold. That would get the other 1,000 hungry agents out there even more excited about showing and getting your home sold. Doesn't that make sense? And the seller said, in a roundabout way, agreed, right? And Roberta said, I handed her the pen and I started wrapping up. I started packing up all my stuff.
before she adds three and goes, ooh, that makes sense.
Well, there is 6 right there. Roberta showed her. We're not hiding it from you. It's all out on the table. You know, if you want to go 3, that's fine. I already have 6 in here on our marketing fee. I'm gonna split. I'm gonna give the fee
Isn't
to
it
the seller.
negotiable? I say, yes, 5.5, 2.5, 3, 3.5, sure.
Yeah.
For the co-broker, but I'm protecting my fee.
But I need 3, right? What you want to give them is up to you, and that is negotiable. So what's great about it is Roberta's letting them negotiate the co-broke's fee, not
So
yours.
is that what we're doing now? I mean, can we, no.
Yes, that's
Can we
what
have
we're
a 3 and a 2.5?
Yes, yes, you can.
Because there was a
Yeah.
time
5.5.
when, remember,
Yes.
we were always equal.
Let me
before we
It
clarify
were-
doesn't have to be equal.
It doesn't, I guess,
No,
but
but
we
you were
were
right.
doing it as a
But
standard.
Esther, you're absolutely right. Let me clarify that. In our region, in our company,
Yeah.
here's the company policy. The policy is our fee for service is 6%. That's our policy. You
Our fee for
cannot
service is 6 or 3.
6 is what's on the marketing agreement.
It's
Okay,
typed in there.
it's typed in there. Okay. Now, you as an individual agent have the ability and the authority on your own to negotiate anywhere between 5 and 6, but no less than 5. Okay? When you put it in MLS, you cannot list the property for any less than 2.5. So it can be 2.5 or anything above 2.5 from there. Okay?
As your co-broke.
As your co-broke fee. That's the company policy. Now, if it's a short sale, and you know it's going to be a short sale, we're suggesting recently that you put in a co-broker too. Even if you have 6 on the agreement, that's the only exception, is if it's a short sale. Because you might end up getting into a situation where the fee gets negotiated down, and what will happen is everything will get reversed. You'll end up having to pay the 2.5 co-broke fee, even if you get nothing. And there are times when you can get nothing going through a short sale situation, and they just don't, there's no money and they're not gonna pay you. And so,
Even though
and
you
you
have a
still owe
contract?
the co-broke the fee, right? The company would have to pay the fee to the co-broke, and you end up with nothing. It's possible. It's an extreme, but it is possible. Most of the time, they'll probably try to knock you down from 6 to 5, and sometimes they'll try to knock you down from 5 to 4. But you know what, gang? Start at the 6, okay, and hang in there. All right. So.
Is it right to say, I need to have the 3%, but I think we should do 3% also for the buyer, because the buyers look to see what amount, and if there's 10 houses competing in the same price range, often they'll look at it and they'll go to the one that's paying 3 instead of getting 2.
It's a very good point
Is
you brought
that
up.
bad to do?
Yes, and thank you for bringing it up. You can't tell a seller that we as real estate agents aren't going to show a property because it's a lower fee.
Yeah.
But what I like to use is these words, and listen to the words very carefully. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, if you were an agent and this is how you made a living, which one of these 2 properties would you be most excited about putting under agreement? Right. So I never say the words, hey, they're not going to show it. Of course they're going to show it. I mean, if I had a buyer, I'd show it, And maybe there are agents out there who shouldn't, but that's illegal. That we're not, and agents aren't supposed to do that. So I explained to them, and I tell them the truth. Yeah, I'd be more excited about getting that property in agreement. Or you could say this: which one would you show first out of these 2 properties, right? Okay. So that's fine too. So explain their net. Number 6 is what?
Any questions?
What's number 6?
Any
Any
question?
All right. And number 7, you hand them the pen and wrap up. You hand them the pen and you use your closing dialogue, whatever it is you like to use that's comfortable for you. All you need to do now is simply approve this form right here. We'll get the sign in the yard in a couple of days, and then you start packing up. Or, all you have to do, Linda, is go ahead and approve the form right there. And don't lose that pen. I paid $1 for it, okay? All right, thank you. All right, press hard, cheap carbon, right? And just move on. Move on to and start packing up. Now, what I'm going to ask you to do is go to the page where we have page 3 in your handouts, where you have the 2 dialogue. And what I'd like you to do now is I want you to role play this, but with each other, And here are going to be the groups, okay? Now, if you would look up here for a second, please. This is the page you should be on. I'm going to tell you who your partners are, and then I'm going to explain to you how I want you to role play this, okay? So it's going to be partners, 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 okay? Partners, partners, and I'll role play with Roberta, okay? And so here's what you're going to do. You're going to turn to the person, one of you, the person closest to the door is the person who speaks first. How's that? Okay? And, okay, the person closest to the door, raise your hand. All right? Now,
Is this kindergarten class?
you know what? Mark, you'd be surprised. I think Andre raised his hand.
No, I just scratched my head.
Oh, you just scratched his head. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. When we get to the point, I'm an arbitrator here. I'm on your side to help you sell your home. The buyer is a component. We need three components in place simultaneously: the buyer, the seller, and the house. And at that point, you are going to draw on a piece of paper, any piece of paper you have, what I drew up here. Okay, gang? And talk about it as you're reading the dialogue and draw it on the paper at the same time. And then you're going to move on to the dialogue under item number 3. You can accept, and the benefits are obvious, no more showings, blah, blah, blah. And here's what I would ask you to do. For the sake of time, please do not add in your own words. Just simply read the words that are here, okay? And the person that is listening, all I would ask you to do is listen and don't have a conversation back. We call this positive role play. And what you want to do is you want to practice what it is that you expect to get for results. And so what I want you to do, and for the sake of time, for the sake of practicing it the best way, is the person that is listening, don't say a word. The person that's talking, just read the exact words, and then make sure you do the diagram, the dialogue. Okay? Okay. Ready? Go.
Okay. I'm on your side.
My job is to present the facts to you, give my perspective so that we don't impulsively make a decision to take this back to we go back to set treatment. This eradicates the whole problem. You can accept the benefit to residents. You don't want to show them, you can use the rehire, or reject. Let's just get what the rate will be. More time, may take more time. Or you can authorize that. So what do you need to contemplate?
Impulsively make a decision that is all the way back that needs to be now, you can accept the benefits are obvious. And you're not sure what rates are going to be on the second side, or it might take more time to sell. Okay, gang, we're all set.
Okay.
If you can hear my voice, say yes.
Yes.
All right. Okay, now, what we're gonna do is, if you would, now, wasn't it good to be able to say that and read it back? You know, the reason that I ask you to do that, and I know a lot of people don't like the role play, is that it will help you when you go out there to actually use it. It won't feel like the first time, won't feel so uncomfortable. I'd rather have you feel uncomfortable in here than when you go out in the field and you're actually talking to the seller, okay? Now, on the next page, I'd like you to do is put your name down and put your office, and, yeah, the next page. Okay, at the top of the page, what I want you to do is I want you to put your name and your office, and I want you to answer the question, how would these workshops help an agent in this business today? And the person who has the best one will receive a lottery ticket. I will personally go out and buy it and mail it to you, and I will notify all of you as to who the winner is.
Oh,
Okay? And I wanted to get these I'm actually going to use these for recruiting purposes, for two purposes. Number one, recruiting other agents who need to be in this class to get them to come into this class, because as independent contractors, you can't make me do anything. I'm an independent contractor. So I want to get them to come in here willingly. And secondly, I also want to use this when I'm recruiting people from other companies or people who are newly licensed, giving them some really powerful reasons as to why they should join our company and have access to this information. Whereas if they go somewhere else, they're not going to get the same information that you're getting here today. Okay, gang?
are we doing this right now? Or
Yes. Yeah. Just one sentence is fine. Yeah, if you get a brain cramp, you can
I don't know
just
what
send it to
say.
me
There
later
are too
or
many
email it to
things.
me. That's fine, yeah. I know, I didn't really give you time to mentally prepare for this either, so. But you don't have to, if you can't think of, if you have too many wonderful things to think about going through your mind right now, just, you can let me know later. Okay? I won't announce the decision, the winner, until after 5 o'clock today, so you have up to 5 o'clock today to submit it. And Ken, we're looking for the best testimonial, the winner who gives the best answer to that question. And make it realistic too, gang. You know, I want it to be something, you know, that's good, that's applicable, of course. And then the person who writes the best one by 5 o'clock today will get a lottery ticket. Okay?
So you want
A
to tear it
$20
off?
one?
Yeah, if you would tear it off, but before you hand it up, look at the bottom of that page. It talks about next week. Stop losing commissions from I want to think it over. How many of you ever lost a commission because a buyer said, oh, we like the home, and yes, you're right, Mark, it's the perfect house for us, but we're going to home and think it over. And we'll get back to always, right? Or how about the seller says, oh, you gave such a great presentation, Louise, we love what you showed us, we love what you're doing, we're just going to think it over tonight. And how many agents do you think go out there and say, well, listen, I'm glad you liked my presentation. Why don't you folks think it over? How many agents say to a buyer, look, you're a young couple, you never bought a home before. This is a big decision for you, isn't it? Yes. Why don't you go home and think about it, and we'll meet tomorrow and write up the offer? How many commissions are lost as a result of the I want to think it over? And, you know, sometimes they're being used against us, but sometimes agents are using it against themselves.
Yeah.
The I want to think it over. It's the biggest deal killer in the world, okay, is the I want to think it over. The next several weeks, we're going to go over specific objections that are preventing you from making a commission. And this is a big one right here. I want to think it over. So, on May 30th, next week, a week from today, at 10 a.m., you will learn a powerful 3-step process to uncover the prospect's true hidden objection. Because once you know what their true objection is, why is it that they really want to think over, then I'm going to teach you how to counter and overcome that objection to help them make a decision. And of course, when they're making a decision, what are they doing? They're moving forward. They're signing something, right? And remember what Floyd Whitman says, no Siggy, no what?
Money.
No
No
money.
money. All right. You've been a phenomenal audience today. Thank you for challenging your own minds and being open-minded to learning some new things and some exciting stuff. I hope you can use these things to make more money, and I know you will. And have a great weekend.
You're gonna
I'll
notify
talk to you all soon.
One question.
Yes.
One question. What is
Sure.
the tax stamps today? What are they?
Last I knew they were $4.56. $4.56 per thousand. Yep. Any other questions?
Are you gonna notify us by email or
Yes,
via
email.
phone?
Email.
Okay.
Yes. I'll notify you all by email. I'll just do a broadcast email to the whole region. Say the
And the
winner
winner
is.
is.
And the winner is. Get a drum roll, please.
What's that quote? Fear of loss is more powerful than motivated than the.
Reward of gain. Yeah.
456.
And yeah, if you want to pass those in, that'd be great. Thank you. Or just leave them on your chair, whatever works for you. That's fine. Thank you for doing this as well. I really appreciate it. It makes.
Thank you for doing this.
Well, thank you for saying thank you for me.
We all thank you.
You know, again, I love doing this because I like hearing the stories after the workshops of how they've actually been able to help people. And so it's fun for me. Well, of
Why
course,
not?
yes,
Why not?
Why not? My compliments.
Why not?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I just
Absolutely. I love
want to thank you very much as well, because I have learned tremendous amount after more than 30 years in this business. The dialogue that I've learned, some of it really simple, starting with no problem, has lightened my attitude when I deal with people. I don't automatically get defensive anymore. I think the first thing I think of is no problem instead of that's ridiculous. So sometimes it's just that simple, and you're very, very good at it.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, I believe that people should do what they're good at and then
Thank you.
do it.
Yeah. I thank you for saying that. You know, I wanted to let you folks know too that on average, I prepare for a session usually somewhere between 3.5 to 4.5 hours of preparation goes into preparing for these classes. And this isn't the first time I taught these sessions. I've been teaching them for years, and so I still prepare 3.5 to 4.5 hours. You know, so if it looks like, oh, he's a natural, you know, I could never do that. You could do it if you practiced as much as I did. And I say that for one reason and one reason only, and that is because I have a different presentation every week. You have the same presentation every time you go out and talk to a seller, and you have the same presentation every time you go out and talk to a buyer. So if you prepare 3.5 to 4 hours on your presentation, just getting good at your presentation just one time, and then practice it by doing it over and over and over again, you know, you'll go out there on stage, which is at the kitchen table or in your office, and you'll be a pro. It's all about the preparation. So thank you for saying that. I very much appreciate it, and I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much. Great. Have a good weekend.
You too.
Well, that's okay, I'll practice it at home. I'll make my husband Oh, you know that.
I don't do any SAT.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Great.